Would you please state your name?
Joseph Ruggiero,
All right. Joe, where do you live in Hoosick Falls?
86 Classic Street.
Okay. Now, would you tell us a little about before you went to the service? Tell us about what you did and so forth.
Well, I went in service when I was 18, so I went to school, high school, and I, like everybody else at that time, I quit school there. I was working for construction. Back at the time, I was working with Bell Laboratories when they were building them originally. I was working down in the tunnels. And then at that time, we got laid off, and there was no real work around, so I went in the service.
See, and what did you enlist in?
I enlisted in the Navy, U.S. Navy.
I see. And what happened when you enlisted? What happened to you?
Well, actually, what I enlisted is to go into the Seabees, and I went to boot camp and as to be Seabee because I did run heavy equipment at the time, even though I was only 18. After I got out of boot camp there at Great Lakes, Illinois, they dissolved the Seabees in 1948, which at that time they were cutting that back on everything.
Right. All right. So what happened? They assigned you to what after that?
Well, after boot camp, I went aboard a auxiliary repair ship called the Cadmus down in Norfolk, Virginia. We used to work on oil tankers and transports and stuff, repairing them, doing minor work, I guess, as far as not yard work. We were anchored out in Hampton Bay there in Norfolk, and also we used to make a run to Bermuda because the ship I was on had a desaltization process, which we were able to supply water to the naval station. In 1948, they didn't have too much water on Bermuda, and they didn't. They used to use most of the water they got was from the rainwater from the roofs, and we had to supply the naval. So we were able to go, but we used to go over there and fill up their tanks, basically. Is what it was.
And what was your job as a repair person of what?
I went there as what they call a striker. I mean, I was not in anything. I was working in the electronics division when I went aboard there, and then I was sent to Fleet Sonar School in Key West, Florida for 6 months, which was a Class A school, and I became a sonarman. I graduated in 1949.
All right, then what happened after you worked? How long did you work on this ship?
I went back after I got out of school there in Key West, Florida. I went back to the Cadmus, which was leaving for Scotland at the time for duty over there, and so I was transferred to a PCS in Key West, Florida as a training ship down there.
What's a PCS?
PCS is, I just happen to have a picture of my old ship.
Yeah, let me get in on it. Oh yeah, I got it. Well, I see.
That's what they call a PCS, Patrol Craft Small. As you see, it has the depth charges in the back. And basically, it's a wooden ship.
Up a little higher. Hold it there. No, down. There you are. Perfect.
It's a wooden ship, and the reason it's wooden is because they used to have what they call paravanes. They used to send these paravanes out. They used to cut the mines. That was one of the purposes. It also had what they called hedgehogs for submarine protection also, and what it would do is fire a pattern of missiles there and in a circle around where a submarine would be.
I see.
So what I was working with the sonar school. We were working with the sonar school, and I was one of the instructors aboard. And we would take out, what we would do is 3 ships would go out, and it'd be a submarine, and we'd go on and fire on the ships there, which would be die, because just for training. And at that time, we were taking in, we had Argentinians, Spanish, Portuguese, Italian personnel. We were training to operate the sonar equipment. I did that for a few years there until the Korean War broke out.
What happened? That was August 50, if I remember right.
Right. The Korean War broke out, and we were still training then, and then we got orders to go to Panama. We went to Panama. We stayed there for 6 months, and a lot of our equipment was changed, which we had no idea what we were doing and why was this all going on. And we stayed there in Panama, and a lot of the equipment was taken off, put on, different equipment was changed, and a lot of yard work was done on it. And we went to the then we went to the Morton shipyard in California, not Long Beach, okay.
Well, in
San
California.
Francisco,
All
okay,
right.
California, outside of San Francisco. And we were there with four other PCSs, different 1446, but different ones of the same class. And then we found out that we were going to take these things to Japan and to be part of the Korean Navy, which South Korea had no Navy at the time. And there was about a dozen ships that we were being lend-leased to, I think that's what they called it. So we did more repair work in California, Oakland, California, Martin Old Shipyard, Oakland, California. Okay.
Came back.
And then we there was four of us, and a tanker and a DE. I don't recall the name of the destroyer escort at the time. The destroyer escort's a little smaller than a submarine. Excuse me, destroyer. We took them to Yokosuka, Japan, and there was about a dozen other ships there, some landing craft, some other small craft, PT boats that we were officially going to turn over to the Korean Navy. But in the meantime, we used to go out every morning with the Koreans, as the whole crew of Koreans, exactly what we were, and we used to train them there again with the submarines. We used to make runs on sub. We used to use the paravanes to learn, teaching them how to cut the mines, because at that time the North Koreans were floating down many of the mines down the river, down the Yellow River. I guess it was the Yellow River at the time. And so we taught them. We used to go out every morning with the full crew of Koreans. They stayed aboard. We stayed we stayed in barracks there in Japan. And that was the beginning of the Korean Navy, South Korean Navy. Their flagship was a destroyer escort, and I guess it grew to quite a few ships from what I heard from some of my friends later on.
I see. So then, I want to ask you, that boat looks awful small going over. If you hit a good storm, you knew it, didn't you?
Well, you asked that. We were coming up from Panama off what they call the Tehuantepec, which is in the south, just off of Mexico. We had a terrible storm there. I mean, we were most of the time underwater. Like I say, it was a wooden ship, and we used to roll. I mean, easy to roll 80, 90 degrees with no problem. And
had to hold on for dear life, huh?
3 days we had that. That was the worst storm that I was ever in. You could hardly sleep. You had to tie yourselves in your bunks there with the straps. Basically, you didn't sleep for almost the whole time. And when you did sleep, you woke up more tired because of the straining. But no, it was interesting. And the problem was going to Japan is we had to refuel every day. Because we only carried about 1,000 gallons of diesel fuel. And so every day we spent half the time refueling all the time.
Refueling ships.
Refueling each other to get there. We made stops in Tinia, Hawaii, Tinia, a couple of other islands, I forget, on our way.
Anyway, so they were in Japan. The Navy gave the boats to Korea, and what happened to you people?
Well, I was coming up on discharge then, and my time was up. I had already extended the 1 year. I was forced, I had to stay in another extra year because of the emergency. Because it was not a war, it was a conflict.
Yeah.
And I was coming up on discharge, and I stayed there after we turned them over about a month there, and I was going to re-enlist. And I liked it there in Japan. It was very good. It was very cheap at the time, and if I to work there at the base, and they couldn't guarantee me, so they sent me back to Treasure Island in California.
Did you fly back or boat back?
We flew back to Treasure Island, to California, and then I got discharged out of Treasure Island.
All right. So that ended 4 years in the service, and then what happened?
I went to Merchant Marine.
Then you joined the Merchant Marine.
There in
Well,
San
tell us about
Francisco.
that.
It wasn't something I really liked. I was on as a wiper. I was working in the black gang, and I was in motor generator room running keeping the generators. And I made a few trips. We'd Alaska to Tijuana to Mexico, back and forth. A few blog trips, what it was mostly. And then we went on strike. That was in 1952. And that was a strike that just about broke the back of the U.S. Merchant Marine. Then they all scattered, got different. In fact, they stayed on strike for 9 months. But what it is, most of the flagships took their flags to different countries, Liberia and so on and so forth.
So
And,
different companies owned it, so they didn't
so
have to. So it really broke the Union, plus broke the Merchant Marine, both at the same
Merchant Marine as
time.
it is today. Today, as you know, most of the Merchant Marine works for the government. Anything with the MATS, the Military Transport Service, and the survey ships is about all you have of the U.S. Merchant Marine.
I see. So then you were on strike, so you left the Merchant Marine. Is that
I
what
left.
happened?
My sister was getting married, and she wanted me in her wedding, so I came home to New Jersey in 1950, late 52, early 53.
All right. So here you are, 53. That's still quite a while since 1999, going on 2000. What happened, Joe? What?
Well, I was working in a machine shop, and then I got married, and I had 3 children. Then I went into the ice cream business there, which I did for 30 years. I spent in the ice cream manufacturing and retailing ice cream and so on until I retired when I was, I guess I was about 55 when
I see. You
sold my
retired,
business.
and you. What happened? How'd you find Hoosick Falls?
How did I find Hoosick Falls? That's an interesting question. My wife's family is from here. Her uncles were all people here in town, the Kretzmers and Harrisons.
Kretzmers, yeah, I know.
Al Kretzmer, I guess you know.
Yeah, I know Al. Yeah.
And we started coming up here. Jerry and I had been going together. I guess after my divorce, I started going. Jerry and we started coming up to Hoosick Falls, and I was getting ready to retire. I liked the area.
Yeah.
I still like that. I mean, I love the area, the mountains and so on. So when I did retire, we came up here. And,
When did you move to Hoosick Falls?
Actually, I moved here in 1979. We had been coming up here 77, 78, more or less on and off.
I see.
And then
So then you moved here in 79, so you've been here 20 years, that means. If you moved here...
Actually, I moved here permanently in 82.
I see,
that's
but you've
when I
been
sold my
here
business.
quite a while.
Yes, I've been here for a while.
And what do you do now that you live in Hoosick Falls?
I'm still in the real estate. I have houses, and I work on my homes and my houses. And
Keep them together.
Keep them together. And I belong to, as you know, I work as different organizations.
You were active, I know, in Kiwanis.
Kiwanis, American Legion, and also the Veteran Service Officer there. And I was
Now you have some job in the town of Hoosick. Would you tell us about that?
I am the town Veteran Service Officer also.
I see.
Which I handle, as some of the veterans know, some of the problems. I try to expedite.
Help veterans that are having problems. Well, Joe, is there anything else you'd like to say about Hoosick Falls or anything else before
Well,
we...
it's a nice town. Like I say, I'm here, as I told you earlier, I'm here by choice, not by birthright. And I like the area, I like the town, and I like the people in it.
Well, Joe, thank you for coming. We greatly appreciate it, and have a good holiday.
Thank you.